Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the 20s Survival Guide. This is your host, Emily Astley, and today we are going to talk about something which has really been on my mind a lot recently, and I'm really conflicted with how I feel about it as a concept, and that is a 5-year plan. I'm not sure if I think a 5-year plan is actually productive. I think it might actually be counterproductive. And I definitely don't have one because God knows what I'm even doing next year. I can only handle 1 year at a time, max. 5 years, that's where I just got to let God take the wheel and decide what is going on for me there, because I don't even know what's going on tomorrow at this point. But I think there's a lot of talk around what do you want your life to look like in the next 5 years. That's a big discussion, especially if you don't know what you want now. If you don't know what you want to do with your life, how are you supposed to plan the next 5 years, right? And so many of us are in that position. Like, I'm not the kind of person who's going to sit here and say, okay, I want to have kids by this age and I want to have a husband by this age. And, I want to have this home, which I'm going to live in for the rest of my life at 30, I used to be like that, but now I just think it's not helpful. I shouldn't set my life goals to specific ages because let's say I don't meet that. That's kind of really pressurizing and I don't need that extra pressure. So in today's episode, we're going to cover 3 reasons why I don't think a 5-year plan is the most productive use of your time or is something that you should really be thinking about. And if you have one, that's great, but this episode is still for you. If you don't have one, this episode is for you because I'm going to help really relieve the stress of you worrying about not having a 5-year plan. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. The first point I have here is the reason why a lot of people want to make a 5-year plan, and that is to really feel in control of your life. I think people use it as a coping mechanism for not feeling in control of their life and trying their best to control it. I think when you were at school, you were constantly being told and asked, what do you want to do with your life? And you might have been too young to figure out what that really is. Still, I'm sure a lot of us aren't sure what the end goal is for us. If you did know when you were 16, that's amazing, but so many people don't know. So thinking about the next 5 years is already a lot when you're just trying to think about the next year. And I can tell you, I don't even know what's going to happen next year. I obviously have planned some goals and I've planned some commitments and things that I want to do, but I really don't know where I'm going to be this time next year. And it's crazy to think about that. But it's also exciting. So I think if you are someone who just doesn't really know yet what they want to do in their life, and that might be careers-wise, that might be, dating-wise, or just where you want to be in 5 years, no idea. That's completely fine. And I think my advice to you to figure out more about yourself is to literally interview yourself, right? When I say interview yourself, this could be in your head, this could be on paper, sit with yourself and think, what do I like? What do I enjoy? What are my strengths? And what do I want to feel like in 5 years? Think about what you want to feel like because that's completely different. Do you want to feel loved by a partner and have this really amazing relationship that you've built for so long? Or do you want to feel really, really proud of your career? It really just depends what you want to feel like. Personally, I want to feel really fulfilled and very confident in myself. Now, confidence in yourself is not the same as me saying, what do I want to do in 5 years, right? That's a feeling and that is going to come wherever and whatever I do. So I know that's something that I want to feel like. I want to feel that all these 5 years of experience that I'm going to eventually have will lead to me feeling a lot more secure in myself. And I know that comes with time, but that's a mission I'm going to set for myself, right? Part of the interview process for yourself is thinking about what your current values and needs are. Because if you think about what your current values and needs are now, it makes you think, okay, what might matter to me in later life? These are my values now. These are the values I want to bring with me throughout my next 5 years. So genuinely sit down and interview yourself. Think, what are my strengths? So just don't stress, because a lot of people use the 5-year plan as a way to control their life, and your life doesn't have to be in complete micromanaged control. But my advice is to sit down and interview yourself. What do you like? What are your strengths? What do you want to feel like in 5 years? Point number 2. This is why I fundamentally don't agree with a 5-year plan. And that is because if we all knew what our futures were going to look like, and we all knew what was happening in the next 5 years, right? Let's say we knew who was going to be president, who was going to be prime minister, what job you were going to be in, how much you were going to make, who you were going to marry. There would literally be no point in living, because the whole part of not knowing what your future has in store for you is the excitement of the unknown. And if we just knew what was going to be in store for us, it would just be so boring, because we could predict it. So there was nothing to kind of anticipate or, dream about or look forward to in that sense. So there's a whole beauty in not knowing what's going to happen. The uncertainty is not a bad thing, is what I'm trying to say. It's just not. It's not a bad thing to not know what's next. You have to take each day as it is. Think about today and putting in your all to be one step closer to your best version of yourself today. That's literally what you have in your control. You have today. So why don't you focus on today instead of worrying about the future, okay? It's easier said than done, and I do it all the time, but I just think it's so easy to get carried away and think about the future instead of focusing on the now, which we can never get back. So if you're actually contemplating whether to go out tonight and you've got an event or something and you're really tired, let's say, this might be you, just go and do it. Go and do it. You only have today. I was scrolling through my notes the other day, my notes section on my phone. I literally write everything down on my notes, and I don't normally lock notes, but you can actually do that. And I didn't quite realize that you can lock notes so that no one can, open them unless you have a specific password or you use your Face ID. So I found a lock note, and it was the only lock note I had in my notes app, and it was from 2017. So I was like, oh my God, what's in here? And the only thing I could see was Dear Diary, which is so cringe. But I was thinking, okay, I got to figure out what's in here. So I couldn't remember the password, obviously, because I didn't keep track of that. Super disorganized. But somehow I reset the password like 5 times and I managed to get in. Unlocked it, and I found a gem, an absolute gem. I had written about like 7 paragraphs of how I was feeling that day. Basically a diary entry, basically journaling, but I did it on my notes app because I'm just not someone who has like a journal necessarily, and I want to be that person, but I think I just do things on the move. It was basically this whole diary entry I wrote when I broke up with one of my ex-boyfriends and how I felt when I was about 17, 18. And it was so wholesome and sweet. So in this note that I wrote for myself, it was basically me kind of saying, I'm reading it now, why I did what I did, why we broke up, and why it's so important for me to focus on my studies at this time, because I know that it's going to make me a much more successful person in my future. And I'm looking at this and I'm looking at 17-year-old me, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, look at her thinking about the Emily now. Like, how sweet is that? I'm sitting there writing like, okay, this is where I want to be when I'm older, however many years older, and I want to make sure that I put in the time now so I can be that successful, confident girl when I grow up. And I'm reading this as someone who's grown up, looking at these notes that I wrote to myself. And it was just so wholesome. And it was so touching to see, like, this is what younger me was telling me now. And it was so rewarding, because even though we're constantly looking towards our futures, having notes like this and writing kind of diary entries in your phone or journaling or however you want to do it actually makes you look back and be like, oh my gosh, I've come so far compared to how I was 5 years ago, let's say. I wish I could just go and give her a hug, Like, I was down bad. this note was so long. It was literally pages, and I'm like saying how much I loved this person and how it was such true love, and now I'm literally looking back thinking that was not true love at all, but bless her, she thought it was. And it's just really sweet to think, okay, girl, that was minor, that was so chill, like you were fine, you had so many more obstacles that you're going to have to overcome, but you were down bad and you got over it, and look at you now, like you're doing so much better. Anyway, you get the point, right? Basically, write things down and write diary entries to yourself, or even vlog something, like vlog a day, an evening, and then you'll have that to look back in a couple years, and it's just quite refreshing. But also, to summarize this point about we don't know what's going on in the next 5 years because we can't tell the future, focus on making smaller goals in smaller time periods. So instead of focusing on the next 5 years, why don't you focus on the next 6 months, okay? We can manage the next 6 months, and that is a lot more predictable. So break your 5 years into chunks. What can you do in the next 6 months? You probably know what you can do in the next 6 months a lot more than you do in the next 5 years, okay? So break them down. It's so much easier when you're doing that. Okay, third tip. This tip really links back with the point of focusing on the now instead of focusing on your future in the next 5 months and the 5 years and whatever. Like focusing on today and tomorrow and what you can do in that time, and that is exposing yourself to new environments. This will actually help you grow and achieve those 5-year plans. The best way to seize new opportunities is exposing yourself to new environments and meeting new people, because that is where growth is at, guys. I promise you. So next time you get offered an opportunity, if it scares you, seize it, take it. You never know where it's going to get you. Take the opportunity. You never know where that could lead you. If it's out of your comfort zone, if it's an opportunity that's completely out of your comfort zone, I understand that's difficult, but seize it instead of overthinking and stressing about it and turning it down. That's the worst thing you could do. Seizing that opportunity could lead to so much growth, and I think you've got to do it. So make a rule with yourself that every time you get offered a new opportunity or a new chance to do something that's completely out of your comfort zone in a new environment, don't shy away. Take up on it. Take that offer and go and run with it. This could be like the next chapter of your life and such a pivotal moment. So please just make a pact with yourself to take every opportunity that's given to you, and even if it's uncomfortable, it's growth. So the issue that I have with a 5-year plan when we're talking about seizing new opportunities is that it can be so overwhelming when you don't even know what you want to do now. Your coping response to this overwhelming feeling of trying to plan out the next 5 years of your life is to overthink and procrastinate and to avoid what you actually want to do in your life and what you want to do now. That is the main issue with the 5-year plan that I have. Stop pushing away and procrastinating what is meant for you now and what you want to do, because it might be scary. Literally, every time there's a chance for you to make a new friend, go to a networking event, do it, take it, run with it, write it down, make a diary entry the next day. And really, just to summarize all of this, I think don't put so much pressure on yourself. Like, chill. 5 years is a long time, and so much could change in the next 5 years. That's why I don't like a 5-year plan. I really don't. Each to their own, but I just don't think it's for me. So just chill out, focus on what you want to do now. It's just not that big of a deal. So live your 20s now to the best of their ability and the fullest, and you will thank yourself later. And I really just hope this has helped at least one person today, because I know how overwhelming it can be when you don't know what you want to do in your life. When you've got 700 different voices telling you different things and where you should be and what job you should be taking because it's going to make you more money or it's going to put you in a stable environment and you're going to have a stable income. It's really hard to block out those voices from other people and focus on what it is that your gut's telling you want to do, because sometimes we just tend to go towards what other people think is best for us and ignore what we think is best for ourselves, because it might be the harder thing to do and it's kind of scary. So literally try your best to block out those negative voices and block out all of those other things to think about what it is that you want first. So I absolutely love every single one of you guys, and I'm so grateful that you tune in and listen every week. If you got this far in the episode, you're absolute gem, and I want you to make sure that you like and rate and subscribe to this podcast, because it really helps me and helps us grow so we can be bigger and better. I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your Wednesday, and it's almost Christmas now. We're seriously getting in the crooks now. It is Christmas and it's coming up, and I hope you guys have something festive to look forward to. Go and drink some mulled wine, go and sit on the sofa with the dogs, go and neck back some mince pies. You can't really neck back mince pies, can you? Neck back the mulled wine, eat those mince pies. Personally, I don't like mince pies. I'm gonna be drinking margaritas and picantes and tequila shots on Christmas. That is more my vibe. But you know what? That's not for everyone. So each to their own. I hope you absolutely, literally have the best week ever. I shall see you next Wednesday. Love you all. Bye.